Hey, how's it going? Beard of
How's it
Liberty,
going?
R2, everyone else watching this video.
Man, I gotta say, I'm gonna miss that intro that y'all put together. I like that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Well, I
perfect
appreciate
music
that.
for it.
That's all
Yeah.
JT.
It was all
You did a
me.
good job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all me. So I don't know if you. So we're reviewing the last two episodes of this great series, 11/22/63. Did you notice on the last episode that the intro of the actual TV show was different?
I don't guess I
No.
did.
Yeah, it was different. So like everything that you see in the up to 8 is normal, and then episode 8, everything's like the car that you see is an accident. The diner's on
Man,
fire.
that's what I get for skipping the intro every single time.
Yeah. That's what you get.
Well, dang. Now I got to rewatch it. Oh no.
Yeah, I say go back and rewatch it, and you'll see that everything, like even the clock is missing, the string is gone from the gun, all kinds of neat little things that you.
That's even crazier what happens in episode 9.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You've seen episode 9?
Yeah.
Are you gonna ruin it up for everyone like you did 5 and 5?
Of course, absolutely. Sorry, I am not on camera. I am streaming from the wife's office downstairs, and
He's in transition, folks.
Yeah. I R2 got a new job, so
that's what you want to call it.
Hey, OnlyFans is legitimate work.
It is. So anyways, this is the bummer because this will be our part 4 of 11/22/63. So like I said, I've enjoyed watching this series and talking about it with you both. So hopefully we can do something like this in the future. So if there's any suggestions out there from anybody, please let us know. I think
Is there any other miniseries where James Franco tries to change the past?
Okay, maybe. I'm curious if there's any other miniseries out there that anybody would like us to review. Definitely tell us. What we would like, or Beard, if you have an idea. And then later this month we're reviewing JFK, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I don't know if that's going to be on a Saturday or it's going to be another video, but we'll figure it out. How was your weekend, Beard?
Pretty good. Yeah. Kind of lazy. Best kind of weekend.
Yeah, pretty good. That's nice. R2, did you have a good weekend?
I had a busy weekend.
What
did I do? Oh, I went down to my dad's. That was fun.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Was there anything you would go into a portal in and change?
Yes, I would prevent my wife from hitting a deer 2 weeks ago and dealing with all that nonsense right now.
Deer are jerks, man.
They are. Just so you know, everyone, his wife is okay. She is. She did hit a deer. And he's been dealing.
And then
with
she
that.
didn't bring back the carcass. That was free food.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? All right, so we're gonna do a quick recap of the whole series, and then we'll get into 7 and 8. 11/22/63. It's on Hulu. It's an original. You can watch it now if you want to catch up. And then it stars it's about, actually, let me do this first. It's based on a book, Stephen King, 11/22/63, same title, and about a teacher who goes back in time to try to prevent the assassination of Kennedy. I think up until 7 and 8, it's been interesting how he's tried to do this, right? It's been I want to reread the book to see if it's similar.
Yeah, it's got me wanting to read it too.
Yeah,
it's a hefty read, from what I understand. It's a lot there, but I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say too. I mean, I know we're recording this, but we are recording it the day before the events of this.
We are. We're
actually
almost
take place too.
Yeah. we are almost 60 years from the day. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this video will be after Thanksgiving. So hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And as you know, this it did have a large cast. There was quite a few people in this. They were in it for a few times, or maybe a few episodes, but overall it was a good cast. But James and I think James Franco and Sarah Godin did a really good job. And one of my favorite characters is Billy.
Yeah.
After watching this full series, R2, because I know this was a first watch for you, which character or what actor did you like the most?
It's tough because there's so many good characters in this. Like,
you know what? We don't have Mimi on here.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, she was great because, you know, like Nick Searchy as Deke was phenomenal. Even though it's kind of short. TR Knight, you know, his episodes are great, and even like Daniel Weber as Lee Harvey Oswald. Like, as the series goes on, you get more and more of him. And
yeah,
I thought he did such a good job too. So it's kind of tough to be like, yeah, that person was the best. I mean, a lot of the actors in this just did phenomenal jobs.
Yeah, they sure did. What do you say, Beard? What would after rewatching this?
Oh, definitely Sarah Godin. She pretty. No, but
You're purdy, you know that.
Overall, the casting was amazing. There's not a bad role from any of the main or supporting cast.
I think the actors really wanted to play their part well, and I think they wanted to have a good show, and I think it showed. Yeah,
you know, I guess I would have to say honestly, Daniel Weber as Lee Harvey Oswald, he probably had the hardest job because, I mean, we know what the official story is on what he was as a person. We know all the theories of what people say, how he acted as a person and his motivations. And he had to act so kind of ambiguous so that we could fill in what we thought based on our own perceptions of the theories and the stories and the history.
There's definitely moments where you're like, God, like, just what a jerk he is. And you hate him. And then there are moments where you're like, he's not that bad of a guy. It's like, what happened to him? You know, he seemed genuinely nice at times too. So yeah, he did.
And they show those scenes with him and the baby. That's when you really see, how he really, and with his mom, and somewhat with his wife, even though he does abuse her. But you see those calm, not psychopath moments with that baby, especially because there's even a scene and we'll talk about here in a second, episode 7, where Sadie's like, you talking about the guy with the baby? Like that guy? Like, he seems so nice.
I was gonna say too, I think of the cast, the only person here, and they didn't do a bad job, but just their role was pretty minimum, was Cherry Jones as Lee Harvey's mom. I mean, she never got really much there. I mean, I kind of feel bad for her because she's a really good actress, but
yeah, there's a lot of really good actors and actresses in here that only got like maybe an episode or two. But
yeah,
hey, it's an 8-part miniseries. I mean, that's what you get. So Beard, this is when you get to drop your cool recap of episodes 5 and 6.
Well, I don't know if it's cool, but we'll find out. Let's see here. We start out with Jake and Bill making plans to identify who is going to attempt to assassinate General Walker. But when Sadie's ex-husband takes her captive, Jake leaves that job completely to Bill. Jake sweeps in to rescue Sadie, barely dodging some peril of his own from her sadistic ex. But Bill misses who the shooter was because time decided to meddle and makes him think that his sister, who is presumed dead, is present with him and distracts him. Afterwards, Jake makes some bets to cover surgery for Sadie because her face was kind of messed up from her ex. And then he discovers that Bill is seeing Lee's wife romantically, but oddly enough, is also Lee's close friend. When Sadie goes in for surgery, time pushes back again, nearly taking her life. And then Jake has Bill committed to a mental hospital because they have had a complete falling out and he can't let him get in the way anymore. But Jake's betting catches up with him and the bookie's goons beat him unconscious.
Yeah. And that's where we start. That was pretty cool. I like that. Did you think that was cool, R2?
Yeah, you did a great job with that.
Yeah, you know what you get? You get a kid on a dragon saying yeah. Or is it a cat? I don't know. Dragon or a cat? I'm not sure. Well, and that goes right into episode 7 and 8. What did you guys say, R2?
I was gonna say, how often when Beard's mowing a lawn on a riding mower does he do that as he finishes?
Yeah. One or twice a time.
You know, every now and then when the job is just really well done, you have to have a little self-celebration.
Is that what you call it, your riding mower, Falcor?
I won't disclose that name.
That'd be kind of awesome if you had him like airbrushed on like the hood.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be awesome.
Do a riding mower up like one of those 80s bands with a fantasy scene.
Yeah, that would be really cool. You should do that. That would be.
Dang it! Now I got goals to go for.
Hey, write them down, or you'll never get them.
We'll start a Give Send Go for it.
All right, so episode 7 is Soldier Boy, and it literally picks up right after Jake has been in a semi coma. He's just been knocked out. What does Deke say there? He's like, I've had some of the football players get their bell rung like this, and it takes them a few days, a couple memory losses, but no big deal. Obviously, a really major concussion.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. It's just a little CTE. That's all.
He'll be all right.
Shake it off, son.
And he can't remember anything. He has amnesia. He remembers. He knows. He kind of remembers Sadie. He did have some weird dreams about his future life, but he really can't remember anything. So most of the episode is him trying to figure out what the heck is he doing? Why is he here? Why is he from the future? I think this is time. Time did this to him. Maybe, and I guess I didn't realize he would come out of it, but he does spend the most of the time. And I think this was a good moment for him and Sadie, where they were just trying to figure out, what do you remember?
Yeah, and I actually missed that part in my recap, is that he came clean with Sadie and told her the crazy truth of him coming back from the future.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to help him remember his mission. And he's getting everything confused.
He is. And it's funny because there's a couple of moments where he's like, who's JFK? What does that stand for? And they're like, oh, that's, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Who's LBJ? He's like, so many initials.
Yeah.
And I love this because now the speed of the story is increasing, and we jump from day to day, and it's a ticking clock. We're coming down to days before JFK's assassination, and
like almost like 10 or 7 days. Yeah, it's 10 days, and then each little segment of the show, you get a little date, what period of time they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also see kind of what Lee's doing. He's working at the depository, but you can see he's kind of on edge as well. So you do get to see kind of what he does to the day of. So I think he even goes to the FBI building, doesn't he? And like write a letter.
He wants to see Agent Hosey, who's been
following him,
like talking to his wife when he's not around, and he leaves a note for him.
Yeah, he's very upset. One of the moments where where Jake is trying to find out like who he is, they go to a neighborhood to try to like remember things. He actually goes back to the house and talks face to face with Lee, and he doesn't even know who he is, which is crazy, right? Because that's the moment, right, that he should be doing something, but he doesn't even know who he is until he reads like a newspaper
But Lee knows who he is. I mean, you know, in a way.
Yeah, he's
like,
your brother.
demon.
You know, yeah, like yeah. You want to talk about that more?
Well, not only that, but like Lee's like really like easy going as well.
Yeah.
Very normal, and he's like, you know, Sadie's like, "Could we come in?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, come on in," you know. And
yeah, didn't seem like a bad person. He just had a issue with, you know, rage on politics.
yeah, well, he even asked too. He's like, "Where's your brother?" You know, because they were buddies too. So yeah, it's a really really interesting scene.
It is. And where is Jake's brother, Billy? Or Beard? Where is he?
Well, Jake kind of ends up remembering that what he did to Bill and had him committed. And he goes back, what seems like to try to make things right, but he's really still at that moment using Bill as a resource, not a person, because he needs him to help him remember everything. He knows that he has a plan, that something needs to be done because Sadie's helping him, but he doesn't remember the details. So he wants to sign Bill out so he can help with that. But Bill, going through a whole bunch of shock therapy, has basically been tortured into thinking that this is not a reality that Jake is telling him. And as
sane people don't come from the future.
Yeah.
What one of the lines he says. Yeah.
And as Jake, spoilers, it's going to be, if anybody's watching hasn't seen these episodes, it's going to be really difficult to not just cover spoilers.
Just be aware there will be spoilers through this whole episode.
Well, before I feel like you're going to say what I think you're going to say, the one kind of odd thing about this scene to me was it seemed like it was like for Bill to be in the state that he was, like more time would have needed to have kind of taken place, just with the treatment that he was getting.
Well, I mean, Jake was in
shock is no joke. So
yeah, and Jake was in a coma for a few weeks. I mean, because I think it was in the beginning of November when it happened, and now we're within 10 days of the 22nd.
Yeah,
I know. It felt like it was more of a, like this was like a month's moment than a week's moment, I guess.
Well, it's possible that this has been compressed down for the TV version too.
That's a good point too. But
I mean, he remembered Jake. He knew who he was.
No, I know, but I guess for again how deprogrammed he was from the last time we had seen him.
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows?
I guess we could give it a little bit more credit to the fact too that he wasn't in the same nice hospital that Jake left him in because he wasn't awake to pay the bills. So they basically sent him to like the government funded facility where that's where when you look back at history, that's where all the really dark stuff happened in mental institutions.
Yeah, you can see the scars on his head. He even says like a line that was kind of sad. He's like, "If you were my friend, why did you put me in here?"
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, and like isn't part of his, I want to say wasn't part of like his head shaved too.
Yeah. The temples were shaved.
So they're there to sign him out, right? They're like, "Oh, we had a little argument. You know, no big deal.
Yeah,
we'll pay the bill and we'll take him out."
And, everybody turns their back to do the paperwork, and just as Sadie starts to turn, Bill looks her directly in the eye and says, "Don't be sad." And she doesn't really know what he means, and she continues to turn around, and then the camera shows him sitting on a ledge, just as like the doctor's saying like something about improvement or whatever, and he just dives right out the window.
Yeah, it's a really sad moment. Do you think this is time telling Jake, "Look, you're like, I'm gonna take out someone again that you care about, just to get you to stop doing what you're trying to do"?
Possible.
I didn't feel like it was time. I felt like it was just more of like just Jake being somewhere where he's not supposed to be in the actions, you know, like having an effect on other people. I don't feel like though that was like time trying to toy with him. It was just I think it was, you know, like more so like if you think of all the stuff that they had been through, and then even for Bill, right? Again, like essentially he was being tortured, being deprogrammed, and then the thing that led you to where you were and all the horrible stuff that you experience is right there in front of you again. It's a lot of emotion, but it's super jarring.
It's as far as storytelling, a really great gray area that we've seen before was Sadie's ex abducting her and torturing her time, or just Jake effects from the actions that Jake has taken. And that's kind of what we get here. It could be one or the other.
Yeah. And I think we're going to talk about it here soon, but I think episode 8 does kind of explain it all. In a way.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you get to, they're like literally the day before. They're sitting in the car. It's raining. They're in Dallas. They can't park across the street for where the event is, but they do have to go park somewhere else. And they basically sit in the car all night and they fall asleep. But Jake has a conversation with the man with the yellow card. So now you actually find out who this man is and what he's doing here. And he's pretty much doing the same thing that Jake is doing, but for a different reason. He's trying to save his daughter from drowning. But every time he saves her, she ends up dying some other way because she's supposed to die.
I thought it was no matter what, he couldn't save her from drowning.
No, he saves her all kinds of different ways, but she just keeps dying.
I gotcha.
And he's in like this loop of things.
Yeah, the scene with him is what really makes me want to read the book, because I want to flesh that character out. I want to know more.
You want a whole book on just the man with the yellow card?
Yes, because he's both kind of like an avatar of time, because like Jake,
he's stuck.
He's like sort of either hallucinates or teleports to a different time when it's raining in daytime, when he was sitting in a car with Sadie at night and it's not raining. So does this guy has he been through the loop so many times that he's kind of taken control of time to some degree? Because otherwise, why would he both be up in Maine where the portal was, and then down in Texas when Sadie's in the hospital? He's just everywhere. So he's both like a real person, but also more.
Well, he does talk about though, like he has to keep coming back and saving her, or trying to, because it's his daughter. And part of me goes, is it just one of those things where he goes back, he sees it, he can't stop it, and he stays for whatever while, but
maybe his punishment from time, because Al's punishment was cancer. Jake's sort of his punishment is just people dying around him and comas and stuff. He's just breaking the hearts of many people. And I think maybe the punishment for this man is just he's just stuck. He's just stuck in time. And he's almost like a warning to everyone else. Maybe he was the first one to figure this out.
Well, I mean, does he enter through the same portal too? I mean, that's my biggest question, is like, how does he get in there? But at the same time, I go, like, as a parent, I don't know. I would do it all over again. Any chance to save your kid.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, but if you were stuck in a loop and it was just inevitable, it's never, would you still keep doing it? Or would you move on? No matter how hard that, even though that would be like one of the hardest things to do.
When I stop and think about it, as unlikely as that would ever be, but because it's my kid, I would probably keep trying. I would try until I can make it, work, right? I mean, I don't know. It's your kid. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? Like, I sympathize with, whether he's stuck there from what he's done, or it's truly like self-affliction of himself. Just, I can't, like out of compulsory, right? I mean, because that's kind of how I took it. It was compulsion for him at this point. Like, he just, no matter what, he cannot not try, but he knows what that outcome will be. It's inevitable.
Yeah. And well, yeah, and I believe he's just stuck in a loop of time. Because there's a hint to that in the intro, the snake eating itself. That's just time. So basically they fall asleep. He remembers kind of like what he needs to do, and now he knows he has to do the deed. He has to go stop Lee Harvey Oswald, and that goes right into episode 8, where they wake up. It's literally 4 hours until the time that, like 4 hours until the assassination of JFK. So they're literally running across Dallas, which was pretty of a crazy scene, right? He's like driving super fast. Through those streets. Those cars are pretty beefy. I'm surprised he got through all that, but you can tell time was trying to stop him still. With
roads that were historically supposed to be open are suddenly blocked.
Some dude crashes into a bus and dies.
Yeah.
Cars come out of nowhere. He's bumping into people that he's had to do who have died. So we see Frank again.
Yeah.
We see Sadie's husband. It's illusion, but it's time messing with him. We see Billy tripping him. So there's all these little obstacles trying to stop him, which I thought was such a nerve-wracking scene, all the way up until he gets to the front door of the depository, where even the guy says, "No, we're closed," and he's like, "No, you're not supposed to be closed. History says you're open." And the guy's looking at him like, "You're crazy. What is wrong with you?" I'm closing. But he tells the man, that call the police. And I'm here to save JFK. Now, leading up to, I thought this would be cool for you, Rick. You see, they kind of recreate the scene there with some of the people taking pictures. Did you think that was a cool scene?
Oh yeah, because you see Zapruder, you see the Babushka woman.
Yes,
it's definitely that scene very much, I feel like, is a nod to anybody who's ever had any interest in the conspiracy and the events of that day.
And they recreate the motorcade and everything. And I think it's really cool. I think it's a really cool homage to, or just that the filming, like the camera footage that we've seen just that day. It's just crazy, like how they were able to recreate that. I think that was really cool.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, I feel like I know this, but at the same time, like watching it, like I was like, that's. I guess I'm like, I didn't realize that the motorcade came at him, but then he didn't start firing until it was moving away from him.
Yeah, not many people know that either. I think that's actually explained in JFK, the movie, where they talk about, like, why didn't he shoot then?
Because like in my head, I just go, that seems like a better way to like that's like a better target, right?
Well, in this, you see something kind of like, well, in our world reality, there may have been a tree branch that actually there was a tree there. You can see it in the show. In the show, the direction they're coming from, it was kind of blocked by that tree. Now, in reality, the story at least is that there was a branch that should have blocked all visibility from that window that inexplicably was cut down the day after the shooting. But I think they did a good job in this by leaving that tree there, but leaving a small window where he could shoot, to kind of give that maybe a little bit of explanation there. That's probably a lot of creative, liberty.
This is off topic, but the same situation occurred with MLK's assassination, though. There was a tree blocking the way, so
I may have gotten those two mixed up.
Okay.
The tree touched me.
Conspiracy trees. They're out to get us.
The other thing I can think of why he didn't do it was, right, when you do it there, everybody's going to look straight up ahead, where when he did it from behind,
he can run away.
There's a little bit of runaway. Other than like the other kind of odd thing that I see with this is he just seems like he's hanging out the window so much.
Yeah.
Where
Well, no one's looking up. They're all
No,
looking
no,
at
I know,
their
but I'm just
pay.
saying, like, I feel like still just any random person just kind of like looking around could potentially notice that. Where it just
Have you
seems
ever
like,
been to like something like this, like a rally, like a thing like this?
I've never been to a rally.
Everyone's focused on the thing that's happening. I doubt anyone would look up. I really do. But I hear what you're saying. But
I was gonna say the other thing. I'm like, maybe it's just like the ADD in me, because like I've been to like sporting events and like games going on, but like I'll look up and like get top of the arena and like I don't know. I'm somebody where like I look at everything. I feel like
stop eating gummies at games. No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You see people walking up there. It's true.
Know, I get it. But basically, so yeah, really, Jake and Sadie run upstairs to the 6th floor, and they open that door. They have in trouble opening that door to the 6th floor where Lee's at, and I think the sound of that door, the jar of that door, and again, this is more spoilers, gets Lee to kind of adjust his shot where he misses.
Yeah, that first miss shot.
Yeah, it distracts him.
And he says sharpshooter, and he misses. And they drive off. JFK is saved. And but unfortunately, there's like a shootout on the 6th floor.
For a moment, I thought you were saying that Lee Harvey Oswald said sharpshooter and then missed.
He did.
Oh, I thought you were saying wait, I could have swore it was somebody in the motorcade, like they heard the shot and went
no, because he would say that when he would make his gun, he would close it sharpshooter when he was done.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's like a mantra.
It's like somebody shooting a ball going Kobe and then missing.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he but they do realize where he shot from. They know where that came. Everyone does look up after the fact. But yeah, the motorcade drives off, but then there's a shootout with him and Jake. And basically Jake takes out Lee Harvey Oswald like upstairs there. And then he's with his own gun. He steals his gun, his rifle, and takes out Lee. And then he's arrested by Dallas PD. And he is supposed the suspect who shot.
Which, if you remember, as they're running up the stairs to stop him, they see graffiti that says "You are the patsy."
Yeah, and that's a huge conspiracy with the conspiracy folks out there, that there was a second shooter or some.
Well, and then he gets arrested, and basically the FBI says, "I'm not going to let the truth get in the way of a good story," or pretty much
right, or maybe it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald, and he's the one that got the blame for it. So there's all kinds of things like that kind of, if you're a conspiracy theorist and this is one of your favorite things to talk about, you're probably like geeking out over this episode, I would say. Yeah, and then he gets arrested. We won't lead into. There's something else that happens in the episode, but we're gonna wait here to some big spoilers. But he gets arrested, and then the FBI tells him that, or not the FBI, that they're gonna throw the book at him. He gets punched in the face in the elevator, and then
it's a shame that you walked into that door frame.
Yeah. Rick, as a conspiracy? But I know you like this here. Did you like how that kind of folded out? How he saved everybody and got arrested and kind of recreated that whole scene of him but not Lee, but with him.
I kind of was, if anything, I was slightly more kind of because as I'm watching it unfold, I'm really thinking, I'm like, are they going to make him truly become Lee Harvey Oswald?
Yeah, but he's smarter than
that. That's the feeling that they certainly give you. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm kind of thinking, because I'm like, it's right. It's a Stephen King, so that's what I'm kind of thinking here. Like, is that going to be like his punishment? Right. That's kind of where I'm going. Like,
yeah, and it makes sense, because when I first watched this series way back when, and even from today, I kind of forgot. I thought he was actually going to be the one who was the shooter, because for some reason he realizes it has to be done, and then he has to do it himself. But it didn't end up that way. It ended up where like Beard, like you mentioned, he could be the patsy, like maybe that's the true conspiracy. Like it wasn't really Lee, maybe it was someone else, but he got blamed for it because he was just up there. Who knows? But yeah, it's funny seeing though, because the FBI comes in, and what's the agent's name again, Beard?
Coatsy.
Yeah, it's the one that's been following Lee, and they got the letter, and Jake's like smarter than him because he knows everything what happened. He goes, "Oh, someone's supposed to come in here and tell you to burn that letter that Lee wrote." You know, they know everything.
Well, the fact that he knew about the letter too was, I think, he was very like, you could tell he was trying not to show it, but it was like, how do you know I got a letter?
Right.
Yeah. He still kind of holds on to most of his confidence until his boss does come in and whispers in his ear, and then Jake just like smirks at him like, "Oh yeah, see."
He's like, "Who are you?" So you're right, Rick. If he didn't have that information, I think he would have been blamed for attempting the assassination. So one more warning here, spoilers for all you that haven't got up to this point of the episode. He does prevent the assassination. And like there's a pretty cool, this is actually from the back of the book, that picture, that recreated news article. Sadie dies because she's in the line of fire. She gets shot.
And part of what makes it extra tragic is once she decides, or basically she tells Jake, "You can't get rid of me. I'm going with you." He tells her multiple times, "Stay right by my side always." And the one time at the end where he's going up against Lee, he tells her, "Stay here," and separates. Is when something bad finally happens to her.
Yep. So she gets shot in the gut from one of the random bullets from Lee, and you don't know when it happens. He realizes it happens later when he's trying to find her, and she does pass away. So he's kind of sad about that, even though he did it. He saved JFK, and the world's supposed to be a better place, and he goes back to Maine. And what does he do, Rick? What is he? I want to know what your input on this whole, and how this whole ending here is with how he went back to 2016. What happens?
He goes back, and it's a desolate wasteland.
It is, and I can't really sure what happened. I can't really understand really what happened. Maybe the book explains it a little bit more. Beard,
in general,
sounds like they were bombed, right?
It seems to me like the Cold War got hot real quick. They don't really go into a lot of specifics in the show, and
because
like
the Cold War was starting around this time.
He does find out, great, because it's Harry there, right? He finds Harry, and he finds out from Harry that Kennedy served 2 terms, and then after he served 2 terms, that Governor George Wallace gets elected. And then from that, it's like it nosedives.
Yeah, because and then he tries to, and then Kennedy creates these camps.
Yeah, and refugee camps.
Yeah, and then you find out that in these camps, Harry's family is placed into those camps, and they don't do very well. They actually end up having really horrible, really bad things happen to them. He doesn't really get into the detail, but he ends up losing his family anyways, regardless of how Jake saved him in the beginning. This is another theory of mine where it's kind of like Final Destination. It's like these people were supposed to pass away at a specific time, and you prevented that, so I'm going to do it at a different time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
and it's Jake kind of stumbles on Harry and saves him from some thugs, and Harry takes him back to his place.
Like Walking Dead in here.
Yeah, and he basically like just turns around and says, "I remember you.
I remember you saved me."
Straight up to his face, and he tells everything. And he gets down to the point where he like breaks down crying because as horrible as his dad was, and the fact that he was going to try to kill them all, he still wants to know why Jake killed his dad.
Yeah, because he didn't know that he was going to do what Frank's dad was going to do.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, that's
Did
kind
you?
of a heartbreaking thing because Jake thinks he
Mhm.
did the right thing, and then he's accused of like just taking out his father for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you think of that, Rick? Of that conversation? I know you were really hoping that basically this show would end where that's the person he does end up really changing is Harry. Do you think that? How
Well,
did you?
I mean, part of me kind of goes like, I'm glad that like it didn't turn out that Harry would have been, would become something evil from having his, life
Did I
changed.
say that?
You did kind of like go like what, like maybe he becomes a serial killer. And
I had to let you on there a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad it didn't go that way. I mean, it's sad, and I mean, not only that though, too, right? That he didn't know, even from that age, like what was gonna happen. That's still kind of like odd. I don't know. I feel like with your mom, at some point you would have found out, like, well, your dad was gonna probably kill us if this random guy didn't show up and save us.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I mean even that.
So
I kind of got
it's a little kind of odd, but
I kind of got the feeling from him that he was like that he kind of did know that his dad was going to do something really bad, but it was still his dad.
Yep.
And
well, I mean, that's just unconditional love you have, right?
Yeah.
With family.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if my dad tried to murder me. I don't know. I would.
But when you're young and you don't probably fully understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right, and you don't have, clearly he never got any closure.
Right.
I mean, for me, the bigger thing is like, I'm like, wow, Kennedy, gets elected to 2 terms, and then
he was
somehow
running
from
for
that-
his second term before he got shot. He was because 64 was the election year, so he's already served 3 months of his first term, and then he gets a second term after.
Well, he was still a year away. I mean,
yeah,
from that, because when we saw the election stuff, that was in 1960. That wasn't 1963 for his second run. That was for his.
Yeah, I know, but the reason why he was on tour, it was kind of similar to like what they're doing now is or about
Sure,
to do. Okay.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, right? He gets elected for 2 terms, but then, you kind of think of I can't think of his name, but Chris Cooper's character, right? He's like, saving Kennedy would prevent all these terrible things from happening. It's interesting in the sense of, if he was that good of a president, and it's even kind of painted that he was this good man even after serving as president, that the country took such a nosedive, right? To go from him to somebody like George Wallace. I mean, like that's
right, because I guess we probably never went to Vietnam.
Well, we were in Vietnam, but we got out of Vietnam sooner than it lasted. I mean, right in real life, Vietnam. I gotta look up when it started, but I mean, it went into 1975.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And Kennedy was killed in 63, and Kennedy was like wanting to pull everybody out. So I mean, probably under Kennedy, it ends around 60, 63, 64.
Yeah, and then probably Wallace wants to go back and fight the commies, and that's probably what happens. Is basically the Cold War, like Beard says, goes hot. So it'd be a nice thing to like. We can probably spend a whole video just talking about the aftermath of that.
Oh, I was gonna say 1955. So it started in at the November 1st, 1955, and it was a
very long war.
30th of 1975.
So now he basically Jake realizes, look, guess saving JFK wasn't really the best thing to happen to the world, but he wants to try to save Sadie and make it right to where Sadie and him are kind of like together, right? So he jumps back in, and remember from when we explained from the first episode, when he jumps back into the portal, it resets. and he goes back to 1960. And then you get the whole scene again from the first episode, the car driving by, and Sadie's in that car. Did you notice that was her in the first episode, Rick?
No.
You need to pay attention, my friend.
I know.
Me neither. I had completely forgotten. I had forgotten most of this last episode. So this was like a completely like first watch for me almost.
You were like,
why is the rum gone?
Now the rum's gone. That's why I forgot.
yeah, Sadie's in the car with her cousins because she was visiting. We found that in episode 3, I think 2 or 3. And he sees her and he's like, look, I'm gonna go talk to her. And this kind of reminded me of the scene in Back to the Future where he's like, I am your destiny or destiny.
Your density.
Yeah. And she's like, what? So he comes, he goes, hey, he's all messed up and wet from the evil 2016. And she's like, you're crazy. Like, who are you? Right. And but she's still in love. You can tell she still likes him. Like there's like this connection there, right? Yeah. It's weird. And she kind of has like a weird deja vu moment where she's, wow, there's something about him. All right. So, and then he sees the man with the yellow card again, and he tells him what we kind of talked about before. And it kind of explains to the fact, you keep wanting to save them, but they keep dying. But this is a different story, I think. I think the reason why she keeps dying is because Jake is in her life.
Yeah.
And I think she's supposed to do, and we find out later, she's supposed to do greater things. But as long as Jake's in her life, she never does those things. And she either passes away or something tragic happens to her, right? So,
Yellow Card Man tells him, you're stuck in your own loop now. Basically, it's his moment that he can't let go of. Mm-hmm. And if he keeps trying to come back and hold on to that, it just won't end well for him or her.
Right. And because you find out, because he goes, okay, well, I guess you have a point. So he goes back to 2016 again, and he looks her up, and she ends up being like this Texas Woman of the Year, great librarian. She's touched multiple lives from multiple people at the same school. And she wouldn't, if Jake was in her life, I don't think she would have done any of this. I don't think she would have made this big of an impact to these people. What do you think, Beard or R2?
I don't know. When you said she's touched and then paused, that was kind of a long dramatic pause there. It's like, where are you going there with it?
Really?
He's going to kick you out.
I mean, he's seen that she's lived a great life, right? And I mean, if you care about her as much as it seems that he does, right? I mean, as much as you would want to be with her, to know that she was okay, to know that she had a good life, and not only good life, but made an impact on other people's lives. I mean, that's a great feeling there. I mean, this scene almost reminded me, it was like reverse Captain America at the end of Endgame.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean, though? I mean, like, I kind of felt like that watching it.
Yeah, and he dances with her, and she's like, I know you. Where have I met you before? Because if you think about it, remember he went in, and maybe it's some weird time connection that she, some type of deja vu. I've known you in a different life type of thing. Because she still has that same, even though I think she's like 70, right? And he's what, 30 something.
Yeah.
She's still got that look of,
Jake got himself a silver fox.
That's what I'm saying. Like, are they gonna, I don't think it's gonna end up that way, but
are you going, I wonder if bungalows are still around?
yeah, maybe there's.
Well, I think this older actress did a really good job of conveying that kind of chemistry that what's her face, Sarah Gadon did when acting across from James Franco. Yeah, it really felt like you're looking at the real same person.
Yeah, and they do show a thing where, you know, he spins her around and he goes back to the younger Sadie. But it's amazing. Like, you always like wonder, like, okay, because he didn't reset it, so she somewhat kind of subconsciously remembers meeting this guy at the diner all wet.
Yeah.
And then like 40 years later, or 50 years or 60 years later, she sees him again.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, the other thing though, too, with like her spinning around and then she's young again. I mean, right? Isn't that like, that's how he sees her? Like, she might be 70 years old now, but to him, he still sees the woman he loves. So,
and the song playing is the one he requested it. That's the one that they originally danced to when they were at the school dance in the
you are correct.
other timeline.
Yeah, and he even says that we forgot to mention that when there's a moment where he's like, Sadie, we don't have to do this. We don't have to save JFK. Let's just leave town, buy a house, be teachers. We can chaperone forever. But she tells him, no, you're here to do this. You're supposed to do this. And, you know, she really wants him to do what he was so adamant about doing.
Yeah.
So, but it shows like what kind of person she was. She was really into telling people, you know, no matter how silly they are, to do what you want to do. But I felt this was a cool scene. I forgot about it, but I thought it was neat that he got to finally see who she ended up being, and he kind of made sure it happened without being in her life. So
yeah, he basically just asked her as they're dancing, like, just very simply, "Are you happy?
Are you happy?"
I was gonna say, even before that too, you do have a moment with him and Harry going, "Oh, I didn't get the job, but like, because that promotion." But he was like, "Thank you for everything you've done for me," you know, and like he was like really happy in that moment too, which was also nice.
Yeah, and he says you're a good man. You know, you do good things. So,
but there is part of me where it's like, I don't know, like kind of what I remember I had said it before, where it's like, you can't, saving Kennedy won't fix things, but because maybe they're smaller, can you save her? Can you save Harry? But then not do the other? Do things end up okay?
Yeah. Well,
if you think back to the conversation that Jake had with that guy in that house when he's renting a room, when he's talking about the war, and like, you're never like the same man after you take a life. The timeline has changed, but Jake has been responsible for, he's killed multiple people. He's killed 3 people, been responsible for the fourth death. And he might not be capable of doing that again. Like, he, in his own head, he might not think.
Yeah, you're right. He has changed. He has changed, even though those things sort of never happen. Right.
Yeah.
But he did them.
Yeah.
So he is changed from episode 1 to 8. You can see it. Final thoughts on the series. I'm going to start with R2 because you were the first to watch on this. You were so excited after the first 2 episodes. Did you have the same excitement all the way through?
You know, there was things how it ended where I was like a little bit like, I don't know. I felt like it wasn't necessarily like as original as I was hoping for with the story. Like the going back in like the desolate wasteland, I feel like that's just something we've seen so often. But at the same time, I do like how it ended. You know, it didn't end dark. It ended happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he kind of lived this second life, and you know, he didn't necessarily get what he wanted, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where you go like, but you appreciate what it, you know, for what it was. I mean, it is like interesting that like there wasn't anything like him like looking into like what happened to Bill, right?
Yeah, I wish I would have done that, but maybe
you know, but maybe it's brought up in the book too, right? Since
maybe Bill maybe gets out of that town on his own and does.
But I still overall I enjoyed it, and thought it was good. I mean, you know, if we were gonna give it a rating, I mean, I certainly would be like, you know, it's 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, I thought it was good. You know,
Good.
I enjoyed watching it. Especially for something on like the newer side, I feel like there's so little of newer stuff for him. Like,
Yeah,
I
this
enjoyed.
is still in the realm of new. You know, it was 2016 or 17 when it came out, I believe. Beard, after watching it for the, you know, a rewatch, do you have a different opinion on it at all?
I still really like it. I mean, they don't. I wouldn't really classify this as sci-fi, even though there's time travel in it. It's more of like a period piece, like whodunit mystery sort of thing, historical drama. But even with just a little bit of time travel in there, that sets off the nerd spot of my brain that likes sci-fi. And I like the idea of what ifs with history, alternate history takes. And I mean, you get often with like the hindsight fallacy that you see with Al, where it's like, well, if this happened, then definitely this would happen, then definitely this would happen, then definitely this would happen. And as you see with this story, that doesn't matter. Once you change one thing, every other outcome is different now. It's not guaranteed. And yeah, kind of coming back to everything being terrible is a little bit predictable. But I think the journey along the way is well worth it.
Yeah. I agree with you, Beard. I'm glad we rewatched it. There was a couple times I actually rewatched the episode, rewatched it like multiple times just to like kind of get the full episode again in case I missed something. But I wish we would have came across a few other people other times. Like I feel like the person who should have beat him up for betting should have been Jack Ruby. I think we should have seen him more times because they introduced him, but they didn't do anything else. I was like, well, that's a bummer because he's a big play in all this. I think he should have been around more. I agree with the definite World War III ending. I think it would have been better if it was more like a Red Dawn type of thing where people, or like maybe we were taken over by someone, and then maybe when he went back in the main, it was like in Russian, but it was like a thriving community, but it was Russian, right? Maybe that would have been better. But I don't know. But overall, it's a good series. I recommend anyone who, if you've been following along, please let us know your final thoughts on everything. But if you haven't and you're just like curious and you want to watch it yourself, please do. We probably missed a good portion of what we talked about. But
yeah, even in this episode that we're doing now, as much as we've spoiled, we still haven't hit on everything that is good plot points.
Yeah,
so even if we've spoiled a bunch for you, go watch it. It's worth it.
Yeah,
well,
it is.
I will say, I mean, this probably would have been considered a bit of like a slander, but like, or if it would have been more of like him saving Kennedy, though, led to RFK being president, then Teddy being president, like kind of like the Kennedys ruling the country instead.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like
political
like
dynasty.
not necessarily like how
you're out. Doyle rule.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, hey, saving Kennedy fixes everything. Instead, it's the opposite, right? You know, you think it's going to be great, but
yeah,
like I feel like that would have been a better thing than just like the desolate wasteland where it's like it's
R2 always hates me when I throw clips about things that he's talking about, and then I always see Beard laughing in the background, and then I don't see R2. He's probably got a mad face on.
I'm flipping you off is what's going on right
now. I agree. That would have been cool to see if like the Kennedys, because at this time in 2016, I think his son was still JFK Jr. was still alive in 2016.
Yeah. Well, he right? No. He died in the 90s, like or 2000s.
Okay. Well, maybe he would have lived.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, you could have gone like he could have lived, and he could have been.
Yeah. If
99 he passed away.
Yeah. So again, definitely watch this series if you are wanting to get a little bit of conspiracy history or history in general. Now, the next thing we're going to review, like I said, is JFK, and this is after the fact. This is the movie based on the events after a real event. They like a year after of kind of like a task force trying to figure out what happened. So I'm excited to rewatch that movie. I haven't seen it in a very long time, so
I think that'll be a first watch for me.
I know. Have we found out where that is? If anybody else wants to watch it with us, Rick, we know where that is all.
JFK.
If you're cool, you can go find a VHS and watch it on 2 VHSs.
Because you want to watch it more than once, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that it came out in 91, and looks like you can watch it
streaming on Tubi, rent or buy on Prime.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it was on sale, I did buy it, and I did buy the director's cut because they had like 15 extra minutes to it. So
of course you did. Okay. But
oh, look at this. We got a grade A suck up. Good to know. Good to know.
You can just feel the bird coming through that.
If you add the commercials
that
you get in from Tubi, it runs the same length as the director's cut. So that was my reason.
And what I do remember from that movie JFK, that they also recreate that scene multiple times, which is pretty cool. And so, or the scene of JFK's assassination.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make sure to look for that video when it goes live. And now there is a couple of things I do want to mention. Again, if you want to support the channel, you can go to mixtees.com after the weekend -logo and get yourself a hoodie or a t-shirt, and it will give you 20% off if you use the code ATW, and that helps the channel out really well, especially another group of people called the Pop Brothers who run the website. So it should be a good time if you help them out. Plus, beard grooming is expensive, and we have to pay for that. So,
even though you think this just happens on its own?
Yes, we're hoping that Manscaped will one day.
You know, you're gonna have to change. You're gonna have to change this clip, Rick.
If you need to know somebody's name, just ask me.
Who's that?
That is Beardy.
Beardy.
That's not his real name. That's just what I call him.
I can't take over that clip. That's your clip.
I know, but it's all good. Anyways, Rick, is there anything you would like to say to the audience before we head out? Don't hit a deer.
Yeah, don't hit a deer when you're driving. Yeah, no, I have one, but I know it's not correct. I have to look
okay. All right. Do you want me to wait for you?
Stab your friends in the front. Remember that from last week.
All right. Stab your friends in the front. I like don't hit a deer. So, all right, folks, look for the announcement of JFK. And
what do you call a blind deer?
I don't know.
No idea.
Oh my God. Okay. On that note, we're out. See ya. Bye.